You're watching News Central now. My name is Dakbo Adigboye. The top stories at this hour. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu orders the Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend cybersecurity levy implementation. The Lagos State Governor welcomes Prince Harry and Meghan to Nigeria's economic capital. Fresh clashes leaves 27 dead, several displaced in Sudan. Details in a moment. Many thanks for joining me. Let's begin the news at this hour by telling you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered a review and requested that a controversial cybersecurity levy policy be put on hold by the Central Bank of Nigeria. This comes about as a result of the House of Representatives resolution to request last Thursday that the CBN rescind the circular ordering all banks to start imposing a 0.5% cybersecurity tax on all electronic transactions made in the nation. Following the guidelines outlined in the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention and Amendment Act of 2024, the CBN issued a circular on May 6, 2024, requiring all banks, mobile money providers, and payment service providers to impose a new cybersecurity charge. According to the Act, a levy amounting to 0.5% of the value of all electronic transactions will be collected and remitted to the National Cybersecurity Fund, overseen by the Office of the National Security Advisor. The federal government is poised to receive fresh loan funding from the World Bank, with approval expected for loans totaling about $2.25 billion on June 13, 2024. The funding will be received via two major development projects. The first being the Nigeria Reforms for Economic Stabilization to Enable Transformation Development Policy Financing, which is set to receive $1.5 billion. The second project, NG Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms Program for Results, has proposed funding of $750 million. There had been earlier reports that indicated that the government might reintroduce previously suspended telecom tax and other fiscal measures in pursuit of securing $750 million loan. Let's also tell you that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has stopped dollar transactions at foreign embassies in Nigeria. The anti-graft agency said that Nigerian local currency should be the only legal tender for transactions at foreign embassies. There has been indications that the Commission sent an advisory to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stating that all transactions at foreign missions should be conducted in Naira. The Commission explained that the directive is part of efforts to strengthen the Naira. The value of the Naira dipped from around 700 Naira to $1 to around 1,400 to $1 in the last 1 year since the collapse of the foreign exchange window by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Earlier, we were joined on the news by Alexa Wilcox, Fellow, Institute of Chartered Accountants.
I think this is the best way to go. I do not even know why it's coming so late in the day, but it's rather late than never. I'd always advocated that any transaction in Nigeria being priced in any currency other than Nigeria, other than the Naira, is an aberration to our economic policies. So I'm happy that this EFCC has woken up. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it's the job of the EFCC. It's the job of central bank. But since the central bank seems to be having a lame duck up towards it, and yes, they're taking it up, it's a welcome development. I think we must transact businesses in Nigeria in Naira and not in any other currency, apart from anybody that could have an express exception, maybe from the president, to transact in any other currency. But as the official currency of Nigeria is Naira, and every transaction in Nigeria must be domesticated.
The former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Prince Uche Secondos, has accused the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, of being the mastermind of the current charged political atmosphere in Rivers State. The former PDP national chairman made the accusation on the heels of Wike's incessant feud with the Rivers State Governor, Sim Fubara, saying the FCT minister had been demarketing the state because the governor had blocked all loopholes that could grant him access to the revenues in the coffers of the state. Secondus alleged that Wike had instructed his aides and political associates to continuously malign and sabotage the peace, progress, and prosperity of the state by ceaselessly attacking the governor and other leaders of the state in the media. The National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies has expressed concerns over the low representation of women in governance and the decision-making processes of the country. The Director General of the Institute urged policymakers and state institutions to show more commitment to finding a solution by creating policies that will help reconcile the different roles men and women play in society. Now, News Central's Joseph Edong tells us more.
Women and men have different needs and responsibilities, and thus they face different challenges in the society. Because of these differences, the need for mainstreaming gender when designing and implementing policies and programs becomes apt so that it benefits both genders. However, despite a framework which recommends 35% of women in all governance processes, their representation has been on a steady decline.
Women participation, inclusion, representations in governance since the advent of democratic rule in 1999 is less than 7%. The challenge facing all advocates of gender inclusivity in politics today is the wide gap between shared values reflected in the national and international policies and practices.
While efforts by the government and non-governmental organizations, including international development partners, seek to increase women's representation in governance, this seems to be eluding all efforts. The National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies says there's a need for policymakers to put in place the right kind of policies that will address this challenge.
I'm very optimistic that NAIS is strategically positioned in ensuring that women secure wider participation in governance by guiding policymakers to be able to make informed and evidence-based policies to enhance gender participation in governance in our country. However, we need to upscale our skills and competencies in order to effectively achieve this objective. It is therefore expected that at the end of this training workshop, you will gain increased knowledge and awareness on gender concepts.
The UN Women is total in agreement with what is going on here today, and therefore congratulate NINGS and all stakeholders that have contributed to organizing this training.
The underrepresentation of women is no doubt reflected in almost all sectors of Nigeria's society. Policy experts say this, however, can be resolved by putting the right policies in place. In Abuja for News Central, I am Edong Joseph.
You're watching News Central now. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons have concluded a 5-day training program aimed at enhancing the capacity of its officials and improving refugee application and management processes in the country. This initiative aims to improve the livelihoods and protection of refugees, providing more support for those seeking refuge. Now, News Central's Joshua Emarai completes the story.
Nigeria has been questioned over its support for refugees and internally displaced persons in the past. To improve on its responsiveness, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons commenced a 5-day training program to equip its staff with the necessary capacity. The program also aims at enhancing the capacity of the committees saddled with attending to refugee applications.
So it's very, very important that the membership understands, deeply what the processes are like so that decisions are well informed. We are expected to protect them in all ramification, the asylum seekers and what have you. So it is very important that we understand the processes to do that. And that is what informed this very particular training.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, who was represented at the training, assured of the UN's support to help the Nigerian government meet its international obligation for refugee protection.
UNHCR is committed to supporting the government of Nigeria in meeting its obligation for international protection for refugees. And the essence of this 5-day session is to enhance capacity of key members of the Eligibility Committee and the Refugee Appeal Board, so that when they have claims for asylum to review, they are able to appropriately apply the right principles for protection. They are able to review the procedures for interviewing and assessment have been complied with, and are able to ensure that those who meet the criteria for status are granted, and those who do not meet are also not recommended for status.
Participants at the training emphasized the importance of law and fairness in refugee matters, and acknowledge that the training has indeed enhanced their capacity to perform their jobs.
The essence of the review: one, you acquire knowledge. Secondly, you can enhance capacity, meaning you have knowledge already, you are now enhancing it by learning new things. And it's the new things we are learning that is helping us to do our work. It may interest you to know that within the past 4 days, we have reviewed five cases that was brought before us.
With UN backing Nigeria's effort, the new training program is a crucial step forward in supporting Nigeria's refugee community and offers a bright hope for refuge seekers. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
The Joint Task Force, codenamed Operation Delta Safe, has discovered over 50 illegal crude oil refineries in the Bisani area of Bayelsa State in a major crackdown on illegal oil activity. The JTF commander, Rear Admiral John Okeke, said the operation targeted the Yenagoa local government area, where they found evidence of widespread illegal refining of stolen crude. This comes after previous warnings to oil thieves in the region to cease their operation. While no arrests were made during the operation, the official urged the public to come forward with any information that could help dismantle the illegal network. He emphasized that the JTF's effort will continue and they will take even stronger measures if necessary. The JTF also announced and also uncovered a large storage pit believed to be used to stockpile stolen crude oil for distribution to the oil refineries. The Nigerian Customs Service says that it has intercepted about 12,435 liters of petrol smuggled from neighboring Cameroon. Now, the Customs Area Controller in charge of the Adama Taraba Area Command made this known to newsmen in Yola, saying the intercepted petrol cost about 10.8 million naira. Now, News Central's correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu tells us more.
The recent operation saw 491 jerrycans containing 25 liters each and another 8 jerrycans containing 20 liters each of petrol intercepted from smugglers. The Adamawa and Taraba State Command says that the operation was done in compliance with the recent state of emergency declared on illegal smuggling of petroleum products, and also to tame the activities of terrorists who operate in the area.
What it means that nobody, even one drop, you are not allowed to take outside this country. You understand? So that is what it means, going outside this country, because some of these bandits or terrorists, you understand, they operate along the mountainous region that cut across Nigeria into Cameroon, and they don't walk by foot. They are on bike and they use this petrol, PMS. So when they don't have access, it helps in fighting insurgency and security issues.
The area controller, while reeling out details of the operation, said officers on anti-smuggling operations within their area of jurisdiction recorded 5 incidents of smuggling.
The command officers were on anti-smuggling operations along the command frontiers within the period of 2 weeks under my leadership had recorded 5 incidents of interception of premium motor spirits on its way to the neighboring country, Cameroon Republic. The intercepted and seized PMS plus the means of conveyance are valued at 10,871,500 496 naira 25 kobo as the duty paid value. However, during the operation, no suspect was apprehended as they abandoned the items and absconded in an attempt to circumvent arrest.
He says that the seizures of the items are in line with sections 150 and 248 of the Nigerian Customs Service Act and solicited the support of the border communities in the fight against smuggling. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Emmanuel Bagudu.
Some of the abducted students of Confluence University of Science and Technology, or SARA, or Kene in Kogi State, have been rescued. This was confirmed in a statement on Sunday by the Kogi State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fanwo. He said the students were rescued safely by local hunters and other security agents. He, however, did not disclose the exact number of the students rescued. The commissioner said that the local vigilante men and security agents engaged the kidnappers in a fierce shootout, and the kidnappers succumbed to superior firepower and escaped with gun wounds. According to him, the kidnappers left the kidnapped students, who also ran in different directions to avoid being caught in the crossfire. About 500 workers in the Ministry of Education in Abia State have been redeployed to public schools in various localities across the state. The affected persons are civil servants of grade level 12 and below who either changed their posting from schools to the ministry or had no clear assignments in the ministry. News Central's Chinwe Ugele examines the remote and immediate implications of such policy by government.
For several years, public schools in Abia State witnessed an unprecedented drop in its teaching staff owing to the constant redeployment of the teachers to the parent ministry. The after effect of such actions were that the public schools began to lack teachers in some subjects.
My own community in Talakwoboro Secondary School, I was there last year, that was 2023, early 2023. And when I went there, what I saw was an eyesore, total eyesore, and lack of teachers. They had only 3 teachers and 3 students. The whole secondary school, imagine.
We had core and non-core staff. So to be able to guarantee payment of service or receiving salaries, people had to leave their various schools and came to the ministry, where they were assured of frequent payment of salaries. And that left the schools empty.
The Commissioner for Education in the state, Professor Uche Eme Uche, posted out from the ministry nearly 500 staff who were hitherto without any defined assignments in the ministry. Before now, this space would have been filled to capacity on work days by staff of the ministry who didn't have any stipulated job assigned to them. Government says it has also decided to make teaching attractive by providing additional incentives for the teachers.
For those who would have left to go to the rural areas, the allowances will even be larger. And I believe that those will be good incentives.
Because of the advantage of now extending the service by 5 years, 65 years, you understand? You are going to get income-ness allowance. Those of them who have been relocated will get relocation allowance. Government is working on all those. Government believes that the teachers are not well paid. To get the best from the teachers, you must pay them very well. Pay them better than ordinary civil servants and equally train them.
The teachers or school principals who spoke off camera want government to send people who will be useful in the schools. Many say the development is good, but want government to keep to its promise of prompt payment of salaries and improvements of the school's facilities.
I like what other state government is doing by deploying teachers to those areas so that they will go and teach our children. We are not initially motivated. This time around, they will be motivated to go there and work.
Teachers love teaching. It's wrong. It's not something that someone just go. If you are born a teacher, you are born a teacher, and you love teaching. So that's my own. Let them renovate the what they call it, the staff quarters, put lights, make them habitable, pay them salary when they give them trainings. Nobody will leave that teaching profession. I bet you that.
Since the posting was done, some of them have reported to their schools, while others are yet to come to terms with the reality of being sent to the classrooms. In News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Solid waste management is a major problem in most developing nations, with Nigeria not exempted. In Lagos, the Olusosun dump site is a waste management site with both aesthetic and serious public health concerns. News Central's Bettina Nweli tells us more.
The Olusosun is a 100-acre dump site in Lagos State, Nigeria. It is the largest in Africa and one of the largest in the world. The site receives up to 10,000 tons of rubbish each day, and waste from around 500 container ships is also delivered to the site, adding a substantial portion of electronic waste. Around 500 homes exist at the site in shanty towns, occupied by residents who work at the dump, scavenging for scrap to sell. Open dumping is very common in developing countries like Nigeria and poses a risk to human health and the environment. Waste not properly managed has been known to have a negative impact on health, environment, and aesthetic values.
So Olusosun was outskirts. Now, the population explosion has pushed people to move to the dump site. They came to meet the dump site there. Same thing with the one in Alimosho, Solus. Alimosho was outskirts back in the day. Even as recent as 2003, 2004. Going to Lasso, it was bush left and right. Now, the dump site that was bush is now full. It's now next to the second largest general hospital in Lagos. Right? So people, development, move from the center towards the outskirts, and they go to meet the dump site in the outskirts. And now we're pushing the dump site away, which is okay.
In 2022, the Lagos State government, through the then Chief Executive Officer of the Lagos Waste Management Authority, LOMA, Mr. Ibrahim Odumboni, had said it will convert the heaps of waste at Olusosun and Ekpe landfills to produce energy through composting. Till date, Lagosians await the implementation of the initiative.
Government is solely responsible for managing that dump site, and it is going to be decommissioned in less than 24 months, not 2060. When it is decommissioned, it means that nobody continues to take waste there anymore. It is at that point you can now mine the organic part of it and create energy from it, right? You are not going to plug battery or light bulb to your plastic waste bin at home. No. It must decompose. It is the compost from it that can generate energy, fertilizer, and a couple other things.
The greatest challenge that the Olusosun dump site poses is the health hazard that it poses in terms of environmental pollution. Those living or working within a few kilometers radius of the site have had to get used to the stench that emanates from the dump site. This is unbefitting of a megacity like Lagos. How, or whether the Lagos State government will keep the plan of decommissioning the dump site in the next couple of years, remains to be seen. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nweli.
Coming up on the news, death toll from South Africa's collapsed building raises to 19. We have details of this and more after now. Hundreds of participants in the Malian national dialogue, mainly boycotted by the opposition, have recommended that military rulers who took power in 2020 keep power for several more years. According to a statement read on state television, they say when elections are eventually held, junta chief, that's Colonel Assimi Goïta, should be the candidate for the presidency. The rapporteur of steering committee for the consultations, Boubacar Sow, say they recommend extending the transition from 2 to 5 years. They also recommend promoting the candidacy of the colonel in the next presidential poll.
11. Susciter la candidature du colonel Assimi Goïta. susciter la candidature du colonel Assimi Goïta à la prochaine élection présidentielle. Élevé au grade de général, le colonel Assimi Goïta, ouvrir le dialogue doctrinal 40 avec les groupes armés dits djihadistes et mettre à contribution les érudits maliens pour définir le corpus doctrinal des débats à mener avec ces groupes.
L'objectif assigné à ce dialogue était de diagnostiquer les causes des conflits intracommunautaires et intercommunautaires afin de tracer une architecture de paix durable, recoudre le tissu social et renforcer le vivre ensemble. L'enjeu de ce dialogue intermalien était la préservation de l'unité nationale et de l'intégrité du territoire. J'en suis heureux de constater que les Maliennes et les Maliens l'ont bien compris et se sont appropriés le processus. Sans nul doute, le dialogue intermalien aura tenu toutes ses promesses et c'est avec un immense espoir que nous envisageons désormais la résolution durable de la problématique de paix et de réconciliation dans notre pays sans ingérence.
Well, joining me on the news at this time to, of course, shed more light on this is Dr. Ambrose Igboke, a public affairs analyst. Thank you for joining me on the news. Let's start off with this. Hundreds of participants in a Malian, of course, national dialogue actually did recommend that military rulers who took power as of 2020 keep power for several more years. Now, what does this reflect of Mali's political space?
I was on your platform and many other television channels when the coup that was sweeping Niger, Burkina Faso, and the euphoria that followed it. I told you specifically that I was not enthusiastic about it because all the history of military coups in Africa have shown that the military guys just come, mouth all kinds of revolutionary promises, and at the end of the day, they become worse than the civilians that they're trying to correct. And I said there was no way that the military guys were better. This is a typical example of my position and my assertion about this matter. These guys came in as revolutionaries and saying they want to change things in Mali. And I mean, this was like the fourth coup or the eighth coup in 4 years or so. And you know, it's becoming worrisome that those people who said that we're going to change things for better for Africans are now digging in. And that has been a pattern from the likes of Muammar Gaddafi, from the likes of Paul Biya, from the likes of Robert Mugabe. The list is endless. That people that transmute themselves from the military to civilian, and we have seen that a lot in Africa. Always digging. They do this kind of thing Mali is doing, add more years to themselves. The next thing, they will constitute a kangaroo conference, and then they will change the constitution, and at the end of the day, they will make themselves life president. And so that is the pattern, and they are just following the trajectory of history of military coups and the self-perpetuation of power in Africa. And this too has shown clearly that even the wave of military coups that are happening in other African countries will follow this pattern.
I mean, they also are suggesting that when elections are eventually held, the junta chief, talking about Colonel Assimi Goïta, should be the candidate for the presidency. What do you think this is?
That is, even when we look at the history of the Liberian Civil War, one of the agreements that was reached was that the warlords, the contending warlords will not contest for presidency. And surprisingly, it was not obeyed. People like Charles Taylor went in and contested for the presidency. And so this is also what is happening here. A transition of this nature is not supposed to have the actors of the coup, of the military coup, to be involved. But now it's just an arrangement to perpetuate themselves in power in the guise of a democratically elected process, which is wrong. So you just remove the toga of the military uniform and then putting on a civilian regalia. That does not change the substance of the person or the essence of the person. It's the same military mentality. They are not structured for democracy, and that is what has happened. This, as I said earlier, this has been the pattern. And this transformation of military guys into civilians is the same thing. In our own time in Nigeria here, we remember what happened between 1993 to 1998, where, Major General Abacha tried to transmute himself to, having 5 political parties and all those kind of things, and trying to make all of them nominate him as a flag bearer. So we have seen the script so many times. It's an old-fashioned script. And it's still, I'm surprised that 50 years, 60 years, 40 years, 30 years down the line, that is still being practiced by the young folks that are coming up in the military status in Africa. As these are things that have been practiced from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even recently. And we are back to it again, almost 60-something years after most of us got independence. It's a pity that Africa is still in this trajectory.
Now, how would you say is significant is the role of international system in all of this? We've seen countries and, of course, international organizations, impose sanctions and all of that. Any effect so far?
These sanctions are infinitesimal most of the time. They are not very strong sanctions because most of the time the West is involved in exploiting the mineral resources. So whoever is in power, most of the time they don't take care. What they care is their economic exploitation and prosperity. So if you don't, if you don't pander to their whims and caprices, they start giving you sanctions and the rest. If you pander to their whims, then they leave you alone and pretend as if you don't, as if you are not there. So it is not the West that will tell us how to run Africa, democracy and the rest. They just mouth these things because the real deal is about access to your economy. And so if a military man has access to economy, they don't have a problem with that. Other third world countries have started to liberate themselves. I think the Africans are the ones holding themselves down. They should stop pointing fingers to the West, because the West also colonized India. The West colonized Singapore. The West colonized Malaysia, all these other countries. The West also kind of colonized Southern Africa. We can see Brazil emerging. We can see Argentina also trying their best over even Venezuela that is beleaguered. We can see that they're trying also to come out. Cuba that has been in the back end for a while. So other countries are trying to emerge. And people we are competitors with that we have power with Nigeria, like Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, and the rest. They've already, they have already left the station, and they are, they are elevating higher. So we are still here, still trying to look up to Britain and America to tell us what to do and not what to do, giving us economic blueprints, and that is the problem we have been having. So these guys will not save Africa. It's Africa that will save Africa. So it is time to say, if there is coup and these people are trying to transmit themselves, that African countries should not give them that opportunity so that coups can stop in Africa.
All right. So thank you so much for your time on the news. Dr. Ambrose Igboke, Public Affairs Analyst. Once again, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, tensions between Niger and Benin has escalated further over a decision by Cotonou to prevent its landlocked neighbor from using its port to export its first crude oil, as a border dispute between the two rages on. Niger's Prime Minister Ali Mohamed Al-Lamin Zain said on Saturday that Benin's blockade of its oil exports violated trade agreements between the two countries and with Niamey's Chinese partners. Zain said Niger could not fully reopen its borders with Benin for security reasons. Cotonou said it would only back down once Niamey reopened its borders to goods coming from Benin and normalized relations. The blockade jeopardizes Niger's plans to start exporting crude oil to China under a $400 million deal. The death toll from a collapsed building in South Africa climbed to 19, municipal authorities said Sunday, with 33 persons still unaccounted for, nearly a week after the structure came crashing down. Now, rescue teams have been working tirelessly since an apartment block under construction in the southern city of George crumbled Monday afternoon after a crew of 81 were on site. 29 persons have so far been rescued alive. As municipal authorities said on Saturday, an unexpected survivor emerged after 116 hours from underneath the rubble of the collapsed building. Rwanda has dismissed a Burundi assertion that it's armed a rebel group accused of grenade explosion that wounded dozens. Heightened strained relations between the East African neighbors continue. At least 38 persons were injured in the attack on Friday in Bujumbura. Burundi's Interior Ministry said, laying the blame on the Red Tabara rebels, as Kigali has been accused of providing training and logistical support to the rebels who have been fighting Burundi's government from bases in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Rwanda's government spokesperson Yolanda Makolo rejected the allegations, saying they have absolutely no connection with the attack. Relations between the two countries have often been tempestuous, and Rwanda has previously denied claims it backs the rebels. The United Nations said clashes reignited between the Sudanese army and rival paramilitaries earlier this week in the key Darfur town of El Fisha, killing at least 27 persons in one day. Eyewitnesses have reported airstrikes, artillery fire, and machine gun clashes battering the city since Friday, when an hours-long battle left an estimated 850 persons displaced. Since April of last year, Sudan has been in grips of the devastating war between the army, headed by the country's de facto leader, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the paramilitary rapid support forces commanded by his former deputy, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. The RSF has seized 4 out of 5 state capitals in Darfur, a region out of the size of France and home to around 1/4 of Sudan's 48 million persons. British Columbia authorities say the wildfire had reduced but expected to increase as the temperature soared. A major wildfire has continued to burn across western Canada as firefighters tamed the fast-spreading blaze while authorities evacuated thousands of residents and warned of poor air quality from British Columbia to Ontario. Now, residents in a town in British Columbia were evacuated, while many in Fort McMurray, an oil hub in Alberta that faced extensive damage from wildfires in 2016, were asked to prepare to leave. Alberta said the wildfire were extreme and out of control, located 16 kilometers southwest of Fort McMurray. It grew significantly over the weekend and was 5,500 hectares in size, growing several folds than what was reported earlier. Up next is business news.
Welcome to Business News. The Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee aims to grant tax relief to 95% of the informal sector in Nigeria. Chairman Mr. Taiwo Oyedele announced this in Abuja, noting plans to exempt businesses earning less than 25 million naira annually from various taxes. The proposed exemption covers withholding tax, company income tax, and payee for their staff. Oyedele stressed the committee's data-driven approach and highlighted that those earning 25 million naira or less a year are already exempt from company income tax and VAT. He emphasized the need to support the legitimate endeavors of the informal sector, suggesting that enabling their growth will lead to future tax contributions. The committee's reforms will primarily target the top 5% of the informal sector, focusing on the middle class and elite for tax purposes. Drafting laws to enact these changes is underway. Group Special Mobile Association GSMA, the umbrella body of mobile operators globally, has said that only 29% of Nigerians have regular access to mobile internet, leaving out 71%. The association attributed this to industry challenges hindering telecom coverage expansion. To address this, the GSMA emphasized the need for Nigeria to establish an enabling policy and regulatory framework crucial for achieving the country's digital transformation goals outlined in its Strategic Plan 2023 to 2027 and the National Broadband Alliance for Nigeria, NBAN. The report highlighted that universal access to digital connectivity is essential for broader digital transformation of Nigeria's economy. It suggested that with improved policies, Nigeria could add 50 million internet users by 2028, but noted challenges such as securing rights of way and a complex tax environment. And finally, East African countries are experiencing a significant shift in their trade patterns with a growing focus on intra-African commerce. This trend is leading to a rise in trade with other African nations and a decline in trade with traditional partners in Europe, Asia, and the United States. Data from the EAC Secretariat shows a 14% surge in trade with other African nations during the fourth quarter of 2023, reaching $4.3 billion. Intra-regional trade within the East African community also saw a 12% increase. This starkly contrasts to a 14% drop in trade with the European Union, a similar decline with Asian countries, and a 19% decrease with the United States. This shift in focus is attributed to several factors. Firstly, EAC member states have a growing political will to eliminate trade barriers within Africa. Additionally, initiatives like Buy East Africa, Build East Africa foster regional production capabilities, reducing reliance on external sources. Furthermore, global disruptions like the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine war have highlighted the importance of regional self-sufficiency. And that's our offering on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetual Fasome Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Let's join the sports desk for today's sports stories.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, made a notable visit to the Ilupeju Grammar School in Lagos, Nigeria on Sunday. The British royal couple graced the courts of Ilupeju Grammar School, not as spectators, but as active participants. They were guests of honor at the Dream Big Basketball Clinic, hosted by the Giant of Africa Foundation. Prince Harry, the founder of the Invictus Games, and his wife Meghan unveiled a groundbreaking partnership between their Archwell Foundation and Giants of Africa. This collaboration aims to empower and engage young Africans through the transformative power of sports.
It brings people together and creates community, and there are no barriers, which is the most important thing. So myself, my wife, as we walked in, I think we saw that knowledge is power, which is a very, very true thing. And it's wonderful to see each and every one of you here today sitting on this court. I know you're ready to go. And we're going to get those balls going, and you're going to show us how good you are.
We are just so grateful. We're proud of all the work that you're doing. For everyone who helped bring this event together today, thank you. For the media who's here covering it, to expand the knowledge for everyone to know how incredible the work is that they are doing here. Thank you for being here to cover that.
Masai Ujiri, president of the Giant of Africa Foundation, praised the royal couple for their dedication to inspiring Africa through sports.
To the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry, Mrs. Meghan, this is such an honor, incredible honor for us to welcome you here. And not only back to Africa, but to Nigeria. Nigeria is the heart of Africa. We all know that. Yes. When Nigeria moves, Africa moves, right? We are so proud to welcome you here, for you to take this time and come and do all what you guys are doing. We have an unbelievable partnership because everything they do is the same thing we want to do with Giants of Africa, which is unite communities, build young children, uplift them, give them opportunity, and ours is through sports. So with this unique partnership, the Archwell Foundation is partnering with us, donating to build another court like this in Abuja. So God bless you. God bless you, Harry. God bless you, Meghan. Thank you. Thank you to your foundation. Thank you for everything you do.
The Duke and Duchess wasted no time getting involved. Prince Harry eagerly joined the players on the court, showcasing his basketball skills and encouraging the young athletes. Their visits also included a heartfelt interaction with wheelchair basketball players, where they took the time to learn each other's name and story. The principal of Ilupeju Grammar School extended a warm welcome, emphasizing the importance of such initiatives in nurturing talent and fostering community spirit.
We are truly grateful for your continuous support and encouragement.
As we embark on this exciting journey of learning and growth during the Giant of Africa Basketball Clinic, let us embrace the opportunity before us with enthusiasm and determination. Together, let us strive to make the most of this invaluable experience, both on and off the court. To all our guests, volunteers, especially our students, I extend my warmest thanks for your presence here today. Your support and participation are deeply appreciated, and I have no doubt that together we will make this event a resounding success.
The visit holds special significance as it marks the couple's first international tour since stepping back from their royal duties in 2020. Their arrival in Nigeria underscores their continued commitment to global causes and partnerships.
Interesting times. And that's a wrap on the news at this time. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu orders the Central Bank of Nigeria to suspend cybersecurity levy implementation. The Lagos State Governor welcomes Prince Harry and Meghan to Nigeria's economic capital. And we also told you that fresh clashes leaves 27 dead, several displaced in Sudan. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live across these platforms. That's DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dapo Adigboyi. Good night.